Hi everybody, my name is Taylor Engle. I work at the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery. I'm a coral and coral and algae restoration specialist. And today I'll be talking about Crustose coralline algae, why you might want to grow it at your facility, how we're growing it, and what some future plans are for the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery regarding Crustose coralline algae. So very briefly, I'm going to assume most everybody knows what Crustose coralline algae is, but it is a red algae characterized by calcium carbonate reinforced cell walls. It is a major, or in many places dominant, constituent of reefs, particularly in the reef crest area, which is dominated experiences extremely high wave energy. And it's also highly reproductively active. So a colony of CCA that's the size of a microscope slide has the potential to release thousands of spores at one given time. So extremely quick to grow. So why might you be interested in growing Crustose coralline algae? Well, we know that it reduces fleshy algae cover and aquatic invasive species. It induces coral larvae sediment. So as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, there's a single polyp right next to some Crustose coralline algae. We've all heard that it's the glue of the reef, so it consolidates unconsolidated rubble and helps to stabilize the structure of the reef. And like I said before, the reef crest tends to be dominated by Crustose coralline algae because it can handle those extremely high wave energy. And for this reason, it's very useful for protecting structures. And part of the project which we're going to be exploring is developing a way that we can actually apply Crustose coralline algae to existing structures underwater in addition to outplanting large colonies of Crustose coralline algae. So how are we growing Crustose coralline algae? Very simply. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see we're using one single tank. We started with a very small collection of Crustose coralline algae, and in a short period of time, using these louvered window panes vertically, which increases the surface area of the tank, we were able to completely cover the inside of this tank. Using the power heads to kind of help distribute those spores, you can actually see there's a magnified view of Crustose coralline algae in the center, and if I magnify it even more, that slightly lightened color structure in the center is called a conceptacle. That's where the spores are produced, and all those small red dots that you see around it are actual Crustose coralline algae spores. So they're extremely small. Each conceptacle can release 10 to 20 spores, and all those little white dots that you see around it are actual conceptacles that I popped open with a little paper clip just a few weeks ago. So they're a very dense reproductive structure spacing. So what are we doing with all this Crustose coralline algae that we are growing? So if you guys have attended Rob Tunin's plenary talk or Dave Gulko's concurrent talk, you might know that we are looking to protect a section of roadway. And it's very important that we protect this section of roadway on Oahu because this highway is the only artery that serves many communities on the northeastern side of the island. So protecting this roadway is incredibly important. And as you can see, there's nowhere for the road to go. It's directly in between the mountain and the water. And this image I actually took just a few weeks ago. This roadway was recently rebuilt. They have to rebuild it almost every single year because it continues to degrade and fall away into the water. So by what we're hoping to do is by outplanting Crustose coralline algae colonies directly onto the reef crest, we can reduce the wave energy that's able to make it past the reef crest, which then results in a reduction in wave energy, hitting the shoreline, hitting the road, and therefore creating more resilient communities and protecting the communities that exist and rely on this road. So thank you, and if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.